把它抽掉啊，剪刀也把它抽掉。
All right, Athena, I've started the session, so there will be a 10-second countdown until we get on stage.
Hi everyone, we're live. Okay, so welcome to the afternoon session. How was your lunch? And how about the rest of the delegates? I hope you have all eaten. Okay, how about you, April? Have you eaten lunch already?
Yes, I did. I had a great lunch. You know what I had? I had longanisa.
Okay. Oh, you had longanisa. Okay, that's nice to hear. Actually, had brunch, but unfortunately, it's not Filipino food at all. Okay, but I'm just wondering if our delegates here have actually tried tasting any Filipino food. And if you were able to do so, maybe you can just type in the chat box the food that you have tasted, the Filipino food that you have tried. Or if you have also your favorites. Okay, maybe we can put that in. Anyone participating in the chat box? How about the Filipinos? What's your favorite Filipino food? Okay, I'll read a few. Okay, for that, it's munggo and galunggong for lunch. Jeff had chop suey. Ma'am Ana, wow, si Ma'am Ana, it's already eating afternoon snack. Turon.
Someone also had
Longanisi for lunch.
longanisa like
Okay.
me.
Yeah. What else, April, is in the chat box?
Sinigang. That's my favorite. The delegates should try sinigang. The non-Filipino delegates.
We have liempo and giniling for lunch. Wow, I like that meat combination. We have
Adobo
mhm,
and crispy
and
pork.
bibingka. Okay. How about the others? Okay. Our friends from Malaysia, Thailand, Japan. Have you ever tried Filipino food? Cake, just kidding. Chicken sandwich. Sisig,
Sisig.
Jollibee. Okay, it's nice to hear that, or I mean to read that everyone had an awesome lunch. Okay, and in Filipino. Okay, so what else should we expect this afternoon, April? Okay, actually, around 12:50 to 1 p.m. today, which okay, we're on it already. We will be starting our afternoon sessions. And before that, we'd like to thank again our sponsors. So, presented by the Philippine Academy of Occupational Therapists and the Learning Ablers, together with our diamond sponsors, Japanese Association of Occupational Therapists, Chiang Mai University, One World Connect,
Our gold sponsors, Gold Plan Insurance Services and Therapy Works Inc.
and our silver sponsors, Able Academy for Children with Exceptionalities Inc., AI Abilities and Intelligences Therapy Center, Center for Habits, Goals, JST Private Resort, Palawan Special Consumers Cooperative, and Play Plus Therapy Center. Right, so okay, let me just check if the next person that I'm going to call on is in the room because I think
Yep.
he has left the stage. Did he?
Yes, I think he left the stage.
Okay, so I think he's having a hard time with his connection right now. So as part of the contingency, let me do that for him. So it was supposed to be Sir Lyle who's going to introduce our next speaker this afternoon. Okay, so
Okay, so
before
before
we
you
go to that part, okay, let me just introduce that this afternoon we're going to have the Professor Tsuyoshi Sato Memorial Lectureship. The Sato Lectureship was established in honor of Professor Tsuyoshi Sato, one of the key founders of the APOTRG and APOTC. It aims to inspire occupational therapists through the sharing of knowledge and experience in occupational therapy research, education, and practice. Sato lecturers are recognized for their outstanding contribution to the body of knowledge of occupational therapy nationally and in the Asia Pacific region. Their contributions through publication, presentations, organizational impact, policy development, or governmental involvement have benefited society and the members of the profession.
It has also been awarded to 3 individuals since 2007. In the next few days, We will be featuring past recipients of the Professor Tsuyoshi Sato Memorial Lecture, then revealing this year's recipient of the award. Join us for the 7th APOTC to be inspired by this year's Sato Memorial Lecturer to be introduced by Diane.
So, to replace Sir Lyle Duque, actually, just to inform everyone, he's also a previous Sato lecturer. So, let me do the honor in introducing today's speaker. Dr. Athena Yijung Tsai is an assistant professor at the Department of Occupational Therapy, School of Health Science, Kaohsiung Medical University in Taiwan. After graduating from National Taiwan University, she obtained her master's degree from New York University. During those years in the United States, she worked in several long-term care facilities. In 2009, she completed her PhD degree in health policy and management from National Yang Ming University in Taiwan. In the past 20 years, Dr. Tsai devoted herself to the profession's public affairs. She was the president of Taiwan Occupational Therapy Association in the years 2011 to 2013 and has been in the board of directors since 1999. Through advocacy and negotiation with the Ministry of Health and Welfare, she and the TOTA have facilitated growth and expansion of profession, particularly with regard the reimbursement policy of the National Health Insurance, policy and regulations related to OT practice in the community, hospital or long-term care, and reform of clinical teaching and accreditation of teaching hospitals. This led her on the road to further involvement and positions in international organizations. Dr. Tsai served as the Secretary General of the Asia Pacific Occupational Therapy Regional Group and the Program Coordinator of Standards and Quality of the WFOT. In recent years, with government grants, Dr. Tsai has been working on cognitive stimulation training, community health promotion, reablement and reimbursement in long-term care and disaster rehabilitation. Okay, so again, I'd like to introduce to you our SATO lecturer this afternoon. If the delegates can just quickly press on any of the reaction buttons to welcome our speaker. Good afternoon once again, Dr. Athena, and welcome back, Sir Lyle. Just in time.
Good. Thank you for Diana's introduction and welcome back, Lyle. I hope I will not encounter a similar problem like you to being kicked out of the room during my speech. So may I just start the sharing of my screen? Okay. Okay. Thanks for the kind introduction. And first, I would like to express my gratitude to Philippine Academy of Occupational Therapists for successfully manage the Asia Pacific Occupational Therapy Congress during this difficult time. As we see, it's a very successful conference during this 1.5 days. And I also would like to congratulate that this represented the spirit of occupational therapists, always solving real life problem and turning impossible to be able. I also want to thank the Asia Pacific Occupational Therapy Regional Group for granting me the 2021 Sato Lectureship Award and giving me this opportunity to deliver my speech. When I decided to be an occupational therapist at my high school age, this is what I thought for my future career. Occupational therapists must like wearing a white coat, sitting in a clinical room of a hospital or a private practice, or running a senior facility. People who has physical, mental problem or aging complaints will walk directly into the OT clinic to seek for help, and after it, they will pay the service fee to us. In my prospective vision of occupational therapy career, I have never thought of anything like political petition nor partial autonomy of my profession, as if my patient did not have the physician's prescription. I was not supposed to deliver any occupational therapy services to her. Not to mention that for a high school student, I would not know that the salary of an occupational therapist is not so high in the country. However, I have never regretted to choose occupational therapy as my lifelong career. During the 25 years of my professional life, so many touching and inspiring moments have deep imprints in my brain. It happened when I saw an older lady stood with her walker for over 1 hour, participating in cooking group in a day center, bowing and saying thank you repeatedly after group to us, occupational therapists, for giving her another chance to really cook it again in her life. It also happened when I saw the mother of the child with developmental delay hug together with their therapist while cheering up for the kids in a campus game. It also happened when a middle-aged man with alcoholism told me during my internship that I was the only person after the confrontation that he can really express his sorrow and frustration in their life. And this kind of experience made me believe that what a wonderful profession occupational therapy is. Even this profession has not yet been the one I thought at my high school year. One day it will be and will be better. But I also believe the situation of our profession will not change if we did nothing. This is the cause and effect diagram completed by my student at their third grade in a course named Rehabilitation and Healthcare System. They voted to choose the top one professional challenge of occupational therapy profession in Taiwan that they would like to deal with, which was the low visibility of occupational therapy profession in Taiwan. The first cause with a low visibility of occupational therapy profession was low reach rate. Reach is defined as the number of people who have seen occupational therapy among the total population. Because the low number of occupational therapists and occupational therapy clinic in Taiwan, it leads to the low reach rate of the profession. If we compare with the other Asia Pacific countries, here is Taiwan's number of OTs, and here is the number of OT per 10,000 capita. Few therapists limited the education and the collective time of professional promotion activities, and maybe also the creativity. Students also thought that the majority of the population, the healthy citizen, did not have a chance to get in touch with occupational therapy because we seldom provide services to them. Most of people value care and cure better than functional independence in the country. Quality of life is deemed as luxury for some sick or disabled clients. The outcome of occupational therapy services were not always quantitatively measurable and usually took time to achieve. Those added difficulties for us to make occupational therapy's contribution visible. From the fieldwork, the student felt that the services provision from physiotherapists and speech therapists have somewhat overlapped with occupational therapy. The core treatment agent, the core treatment target, activity of daily living, doesn't look like as profession as treatment under the medical model. It reduced the uniqueness of OT profession. The name of our profession occupational therapy is somewhat too conceptual for the general public to understand. And it's pretty much the Western-based concept. And this profession is very new to the society. And people have difficulty to really call occupational therapy in Mandarin or in Taiwanese, in the hospital or the clinic. So it has been difficult for the therapists here to have a correct name for the profession. Low visibility of the profession will exhaust its current therapists, prevent investment of further resources, and build obstacles to attract new blood. Luckily, those students were not knocked out or frighteningly escaped from OT profession after this analysis. They are doing their fieldwork currently at the hospital or the community, and they just presented this full cause and effect strategic analysis paper in the annual conference of the Taiwan OT Association on last Saturday. And luckily, they received well guidance and encouragement from the experienced experts, such as the WOT immediate past president Marilyn Patterson by online interaction last year. Thank you, Marilyn. Every early exposure to the professional challenge and international OT development are important to build young occupational therapists' vision and resilience. We all have been educated in this way. One of the key factors to distinguish profession from non-profession is profession is built upon theoretical foundation rather than accumulation of experiences only. So let's see what can we learn from the theories of profession, and can you guide us to find some solution? First, we look at the trait approach. In a trait approach point of view, a profession is a homogeneous group with systematic knowledge base, formal training, altruistic orientation to their work, and with little within-group conflict. Knowledge base and professional skills are always the core of occupational therapy, which require sustainably updating, thoroughly installation through entry-level and continuing education. We should also work cooperatively to expand the scope of our profession rather than shrink each other's territory as the result of the within-profession competition. For the functionalists, they think each profession holds certain esoteric knowledge of great importance to society. Thus, the profession were trained to perform the normative behavior related to professional role expectation. To keep the profession active and functioning, the profession must meet the contemporary needs of the society and to be exploitable. One of the mirror of leading health challenge in the is the cause of the disease, cause of the death. When we look at the global leading cause of death, nearly half of them were not our regular clients, including people with respiratory condition, diabetics, kidney diseases, and diarrheal diseases. Are people with those diseases always be able to perform their daily life and participate in their social life? The answer is no. To be responsive enough to the needs of a society, we, as an occupational therapist, have to talk with other profession or the interest group. Try to firstly understand the current issue and develop suitable occupational therapy services. We also need to increase the efficiency and accuracy of the evaluation and the efficacy of the intervention to deliver a precise occupational therapy. Moreover, we need to act proactively to foresee the problem in the future and arrange our services for the future's sake. Another theory that we look at is the Marxism. From the Marxism's point of view, Marxism is the method of socio-economic analysis. They see the profession managerial class as the agent of the surveillance and the control of capital. Or some of the elements of professional group are increasingly become proletarian-sized as part of the labor process. Most occupational therapists are employees. Indeed, most of us belong to labor group in the working system. Not all Asia-Pacific countries have OT union as the Scandinavian National Association do. For the National Association, union, OT department, or individual therapist, to ask for the right to work and fair condition of employment is the minimal standard. Every occupational therapist should work without discrimination of age, gender, identity, ethnic, political preference, or religion. Equal work, equal pay, and with proper labor welfare. In this revolutionary change time, occupational therapists must work hard to always maintain a non-replaceable knowledge and skill. We need to embrace the new technology like robot, artificial intelligence, information and communication technology, and develop a framework working with those technology instead of replaced by them. Encouraging entrepreneurship to own capital of various kinds is important. Let occupational therapy entrepreneurs to be the role model of the youngsters. The higher position occupational therapists stand, the more capital occupational therapists own, the greater socio-economic power our profession will have. For the Foucaultianism, they think that state is a cluster of institution, procedure, tactic, calculation, knowledge, and technology that link to the task of governance. Profession is part of a governing mechanism and meanwhile governed by the mechanism. Professional power and knowledge are applied to make the people more governable. The system is also applying governmentality to profession to underlie our incorporation into structure of state governance through institutionalization of expertise in normalizing, legitimatizing, and regulation activities. Occupational therapists join the governmentality and discipline process to export the accepted knowledge and accepted practice under the pedagogical relation. This is the status quo. In fact, we have much more to say through this mechanism to influence the society. We want people to know how occupation affect health physically, mentally, and socially in a daily basis. We want people to know that how important occupational balance is, how powerful routine and ritual are. We also want everyone to know that reablement is much more valuable than direct care to the disabled persons. We want the core belief of our profession to be the accepted knowledge and accepted practice that to be grounded in everyone's mind. This cannot be achieved if we limited ourselves in the traditional circle. We need to be situated in various or as many as possible institutions in widespread to influence the general public. From disclosure analysis of the profession, such as conversation, paragraph, or article, represents its knowledge system and also reveal the content of knowledge and power relation. How we call ourselves, how we talk to each other, to our clients, and to the general public is a powerful thing. We should be cautious and intentionally with our language and information presented in either vocabulary format, visual, audio, or digital format. And the last, in a neo-Weberian perspective, the profession is a restricted group of eligible who has limiting access of opportunity and is distinguishing ourselves from outsiders. Through professionalization, each profession controls the supply of entrants and safeguards our value on the market, even in a competitive society. By a self-governing professional association, each profession legitimizes organized autonomy to define the needs of consumer and how needs are to be met. State should assist and encourage people to engage in the society, no matter individual or professional group, and it's always our responsibility to motivate or act by oneself for rather than staying in the underclass and expecting charity from others. Action is the rule of game. We should always take action in the public affair to replace the coping strategy as withdrawing, forbearance, and sacrifice. Engagement in the public policy-making process to define the definition, standards, and regulation. Professional association at global, regional, national, and local levels are our basis of battle. Together, we'll be stronger. There's no reason why not joining and supporting one's occupational therapy association at any level, because it's our family, our home, and our secret base for lifelong combat. If you are not a member of any occupational therapy association, join it today without any hesitation. The creation of a profession deeply depends on the state sanction. Politics is everywhere, and politics is everyone's business. Politics is about power, decision-making, and resource allocation. Occupational therapists cannot live or doing the work without power, decision-making, or resource allocation. In the first edition of Occupational Therapy Practice Framework, advocacy is proposed to be one type of occupational therapy intervention. Before I talk to you with the strategy and example of the self-advocacy, let's look at the definition of advocacy first. Advocacy is efforts directed toward promoting occupational justice and empowering clients to seek and obtain resources to fully participate in their daily life, daily occupation. And efforts undertaken by the practitioner are considered advocacy, and those undertaken by the clients are considered self-advocacy and can be promoted and supported by the practitioner. And for the self-advocacy, it's the advocacy for oneself, including making one's own decision about life, learning how to obtain information to gain an understanding about issues of personal interest or importance, developing a network of support, knowing one's right and responsibility, reaching out to others when in need of assistance, and learning about self-determinations. We have so many good examples about how to do the self-advocacy for occupational therapy profession ourselves. So when we are considered as the clients itself, then those are the things that we can do. Knowledge base of the profession and the professional skills are always the core of occupational therapy, which require continuously updating. Through research and innovation, we are establishing the standards of precise occupational therapy and to shape the current and future occupational therapists via continuing and entry-level education. Many Asia-Pacific countries have well-established continuing education system for the therapists. The Continuing Professional Development CPD system of Australia require all occupational therapists with general registration to maintain a 20 CPT hours on an annual basis. Japanese Association of Occupational Therapists has established and is still promoting the continuing post-professional certification in the specialty areas in the past years. Because this was not mandatory in the country, so they did face many challenges in the first few years. With JAOT's persistence, more and more occupational therapists are willingly to receive and obtain the certifying education through the system. When it becomes a non-ignorable reality, more inner customers as occupational therapists will be attracted by the glory of this system and become part of it. The external customers, like other healthcare professions, government, and payer parties, will recognize and buy in the system, and in turn, created more added value to this profession. In the past decade, a group of occupational therapy scholars and scientists devoted in the innovative treatment of patients with stroke in Taiwan, including the constraint-induced movement therapy, mirror therapy, and robot-assisted training. Despite of the fruitful achievement and international reputation, those treatment approaches were not well adopted until recently in Taiwan. Taiwan Occupational Therapy Association participated in the designing and promotion of the national project of post-acute care of cardiovascular disease to include those corrective therapy as part of the new health insurance reimbursement system. With the PAC program staff training nationwide, occupational therapists all over the country learned the new ways of intervention. The National Health Insurance required the periodical report of treatment outcome every 3 weeks to check the necessity for further reimbursement. Taiwan Occupational Therapy Association recruited a group of experts to publish the guideline of occupational therapy for the stroke patients. With all this effort, changes in the rehabilitation clinic has become observable until recently, and it took us 8 years. Because of the importance of a continued and entry-level education in shaping the knowledge and behavior of occupational therapists, we also need to focus not only on research of clinical treatments, but also research of education. Being influenced by the Joint Commission of Accreditation of Health Organizations, many countries started the certifying education to health professionals, including occupational therapists, to be a teaching staff. It is a good influence for occupational therapists to learn how to teach and to learn how to design a training program, performance appraisal, and also how to give feedback to students and junior therapists, and how to support and facilitate the new learners. It is good because it was never appeared in our entry-level curriculum. But our profession actually rely on teaching so well in professional development. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19, the ways of education has been changed in a rapid and substantial manners. Students were restricted from visiting various healthcare settings. This prevented them in completing the fieldwork education as required by the minimal standard of education of occupational therapists. Without stopping the learning, inventive design of course and fieldwork formats has emerged. Challenges follow challenges. How can we ensure the quality of education while we're still struggling with the process of delivering of education? However, there's no time for us to stop and wait. We can only plan ahead with systematic thinking, with reflective minds, critically appraising ourselves throughout the whole process, or at least at the end of the process. And that is how action study is. To solve a real-life problem with a design action, measuring, recording, analyzing, and reflecting while implementing the actions, and also amending it accordingly. So it is a good chance for us to adopt it some kind of research of education, maybe through the method like action study. As we said earlier, most occupational therapists are employees and belong to labor group in the working system. But in some of the Asia Pacific countries that have deep influence of Confucianism, this 鞠躬尽瘁，死而后已, which means in English, dedicated to the best of all until death, is rooted in many people's mind, like the ones in my generation. To dedicate oneself to work is a virtue, a lifelong moral. However, in this postmodern, post-industrial society, we would easily receive jobs and missions with competing needs and conflict schedule. Rather than requesting ourselves to devote further, it is important to guarantee a fair condition of employment. We can refer to the UN Convention of Right to Work and Fair Condition of Employment as the golden standard. But every country also has its labor act according to the local condition, which reflecting the labor right awareness and the development of legalization. What I want to mention is some example of National OT Association in supporting their therapists as the practitioner. Occupational Therapy New Zealand has teamed up with the commercial insurance company to provide comprehensive insurance cover at a very competitive rate. This combining the membership subscription with the beneficial package of purchasing professional indemnity and public liability insurance in a very smart way to create win-win-win situation for the member of the OT association and the association itself and the insurance company. What happened in Taiwan earlier is that the liability insurance had yet developed and also could be too expensive for the most local occupational therapists in 10 years ago. Through the collective inputs, the National OT Union managed a treatment liability subsidized fund to assist occupational therapists with financial support and also legal consultation once they encounter the appeal or lawsuits. Singapore Association of Occupational Therapists has demonstrated to us a very good paradigm of astute orientation. The SAOT mentorship program first started in 2019 with the goal of sharing the collective reason and knowledge across sectors, seek to link experienced occupational therapists from various areas of practice with youngster occupational therapists in Singapore, and supporting members' growth and development by matching mentor and mentee according to their mentoring needs. SAOT members and fully registered with the Singapore Allied Health Professional Council are eligible to be the mentee. And as for the mentor, it is required a minimum of 10-year experiences working as an occupational therapist in Singapore and a strong interest in supporting youngsters therapists within the profession. Many national or local occupational therapy associations established the Therapist Award to acknowledge the outstanding member who has notable contribution to the profession and can be the role model of the youngsters. It can also deepen the altruistic orientation with the small society of occupational therapy. Recently, more and more occupational therapists try to set up their own private practice. In countries where occupational therapy clinic is legal, therapists with certain years of experiences and accreditation may step up from the employed position to carry out the responsibility to become one's own boss. In many Asia-Pacific countries, the OT clinic for kids are more popular. There are also big entrepreneurship, such as Yume Nomizu Unimura in Japan. The founder is an occupational therapist who worked in the hospital for decades, and one day, several years ago, he decided to step out into the community and to have his own styles of daycare center, and it's what is called like the dream village. And in this dream village, he emphasized re-ablement, enablement, independence, and self-fulfillment. And it became like a chain store of day centers, and it also been adopted to Taiwan. And also, when we talk about entrepreneurship, we cannot forget that the keynote speakers yesterday in the opening ceremony, our former president, Marilyn Patterson. And Marilyn is a very successful businesswoman, and she's also a role model for the entrepreneur for the whole world. And there are so many role models in the Asia-Pacific region who have excellent demonstration of different career as entrepreneurs. It is very important for occupational therapy curriculum to include entrepreneurship in the education. I would like to share with you two personal experience what we had in Taiwan about how Occupational Therapists Association to proactively respond to the need of the society. One of it is the re-ablement in the National Long-Term Care Policy. In the year 2017, we have been participated with a national project with the Ministry of Health and Welfare of our government, and we learned from the Norwegian model of re-ablement. We did a lot of research and tried to design for this new system of long-term care rehabilitation. And in 3 years ago, it has become the national policy and it become the part of the reimbursement system. So in the past few years, we've been helping the government to writing and refining the guideline for the re-ablement and trying to explore the concept of the re-ablement belief to the whole country. And another example is another national project, the Taiwan OT Association joined it, which is prevention and the delaying of disability for the community elderlies. And it's also in the past 5 years, we've been involving and taking the responsibility to in charge of the advisory and supporting project nationally, and to try to set up some standards, and also to present to help the community for their presenting their performance, and trying to help the community and the elderly, and also the government, and also the occupational therapist to work cohesively and cooperatively in the system. So as we know that the language or the image created by our profession is powerful. So we should actually cherish any opportunity or the resource to help to the general public or the government or the payer parties to know more about our profession. We in the Asia Pacific region have 2 journals that have been included in the Scientific Citation Index, which are the Australian Occupational Therapy Journal and the Hong Kong Journal of Occupational Therapy. That is an honor for our region. And we also saw many icons or promotion material developed by various national associations or the local OT association or the students. Those are very, very encouraging and inspiring. Another example from Japan is also a very good demonstration to us. The MTDLP developed by JAOT actually is a measurement tool. It's like a local version of Canadian Occupational Performance Measurement, COPM. And it was nicely developed by the JAOT and nicely validated. After the evidence was established, JAOT started to propose it to the fellow occupational therapists as well as the government. In the newly reformed of Japanese long-term care insurance, the application of MTDLP, which means the management tool of occupational performance, daily occupational performance. And as we see in the newly long-term care insurance reform in Japan, they actually JOT successfully make the government to apply the MTDLP in a long-term care practice setting as an index of quality indicator. With this, if the practice setting finish the MTDLP, the writing or the work, and then the practice setting are eligible to receive additional bonus from the Japanese long-term care insurance. So this is a very good example to show us how to do the upward management, to engage in the policy making with sound scientific endeavor created by the professional expert group of occupational therapists. Another inspiring example is from the Korean Association of Occupational Therapists, KAOT. In year 2008, when the Korean Mental Health Act was amended, it states that psychiatric OT was to be carried out by mental health specialists like social worker, nurses, and clinical psychologists, which is contradicted with the regulation, and also is very harmful to professional dignity, and it will like a shrinking of the territory of occupational therapists in the country. And this battle has been lasted for more than 12 years. As we see from the letter, it was until last year, through the effort of the Korean Association of Occupational Therapists, they have successfully changed the status, and they have already to put in the revised Mental Health Act to include occupational therapists as a required mental health care service personnel in their national system. And it was one of the examples that how the collective cooperation happened. In the past 12 years, Korean OT Association received some support and friendship from the World Occupational Therapy Association Federation, and also many OT associations like Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, and so on. So those collective effort make things possible and make change of our profession possible. And occupational therapy association around the Asia Pacific region are actually like a big family. As you can see, we have so many countries joining together in this Asia Pacific regional group. And yet we still welcoming and trying to have more member for our regional group. And I know so many of the association, they have actually helping the different areas of healthcare profession and trying to have a professional training, research, or some advocacy through various means. And this is how occupational therapy family is doing. And this is the way we did, the way we are doing, and the way we are going to do in the future. We, as the big family of occupational therapy in the Asia Pacific region and also in the world, we cherish every opportunity to fight for our clients, and we also cherish every opportunity to fight for ourselves as a profession. And we also believe that as we united together and to share our experiences and wisdom, we will be a stronger profession and will be stronger and stronger. So that concludes of my speech. Thank you for your listening.
Okay. Am I in? Hello, can you hear
Yep,
me?
I can hear you.
All right, that's good. So, thank you so much, Dr. Athena, for that very wonderful message. I've actually learned a lot since you touched a lot of factors, and it's not really restricted to just promoting the profession alone. Like, it's I don't think it's that often that we get to touch other important parts of the profession aside from the practice in itself. Like, I liked it when you talked about professional organizations, like, you're belonging to one, and even how the community should be protected when it comes to benefits acquisition and so on and so forth. So what's your takeaway, April?
Yeah, what actually stuck with me was when Dr. Athena said, if you are not part of any OT organization, be a part today. Because I agree, helping the organization is helping the profession.
Oh, and to add on that, Dr. Athena mentioned about self-advocacy and advocacy of the profession too. So I guess if you belong to one, if you advocate for yourself, you don't just do it alone. I guess it also has a ripple effect on advocating for the entire community, especially that we may be known by name, but not everybody has that deep understanding of what occupational therapy really is. I think that's my take. So anyway, I think we're moving to the question and answer. Any questions in the chat box?
Yeah, we're now opening the floor for questions. If you have any questions, you may type it in at the chat box. under
Okay.
Q&A.
Right. So while we're waiting for the questions to come in, let me just read some of the comments in the chat box. So it says here from Adam Law, thank you, Athena, for the fantastic presentation covering so many aspects of occupational therapy. And there's another one from Sai Shibashi, fantastic, covering so many aspects of occupational therapy. Thank you so much. What can you say about that, Dr. Athena?
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. Yeah, I think that before that we all think that occupational therapists only work in the like a therapeutic room in a hospital, but actually we when we expanding our model of practice, like we have like occupation based model, we have a social model, and then we realize that it's more than the medical model scope that we should focus on. So if we want to really implementing the therapy and helping our clients or helping ourselves, and we will actually need to know so many different ways to advocate for our clients or ourselves.
Okay, we already have one question in.
Yes.
Okay, let me read it to you. What is the best way for occupational therapist clinician to pick on skills on advocacy, policy work, and all? Mentorship, training?
Yeah, I think they're harder to say like which one is like a best solution or best strategy. But there are a couple of the things that we can try. Like mentoring is definitely a very good one because the experienced occupational therapists or senior staffs, they actually have so many uh, experience of like how they overcome the challenge or how they win the support from uh, certain situation. So if we have like a mentoring mechanism, then that will be great helpful. But also that in last month we just have like a World OT Days, right? So every country like a celebrating the World OT Days, and it's a very good movement to raise the recognition of our profession. And so we also see like many countries, they have a very good example of how to uh, like successfully increase people's awareness of occupational therapy and also the health issues. And so I think like encouraging students or occupational therapists to joining the National Association or any OT association and to participate in the promotional activities is also a very important way.
Thank you, Dr. Ratina. Actually, some of the people are still typing in their questions. Some are sending me a personal message to my account. So let me just wait for those to come in. Meanwhile, let me read more of the comments. So from Dr. Supat, hi, Dr. Supat. It's been a while. Thank you so much for your wonderful session. And from Dr. Joaquin Benedicto, congratulations. Such an outstanding SATO lecture. Cheers to you, Dr. Athena. And from Buwana, I do encourage all OT around the region to market more about our profession to be better recognized by other professions, communities, and other stakeholders. Any more, April? I think people are typing it in. Oh, there's
Yep.
another question. Can you read it
Yes,
for me?
I'll read the question to Dr. Athena. Okay, from Yi Chen Shi. Dr. Athena plays an important role in Taiwan OT, and I am proud of being an OT in Taiwan. I would like to ask if there were any difficulties in preventing and delaying disability promotion.
Actually, there are like a couple of difficulties to put in this because one of the interesting project that we are like helping the ministry doing is the like moving all the day project. And because when the government starting to have like a national project like preventing and delaying of the disability, actually is only apply for the clients who is willing to go out from their home to go into the community center to receiving those exercise or cognitive stimulation classes. But actually, from the statistic, is there are like only 28% of older people who would like to do things like that. The majority of the older clients, older people, they don't like to go out, or they don't like to go to the community center. They don't like to join like a group exercise. So if we like a government or the professional group, we have like a huge investment to the community centered exercise groups that will only help very small percentage of the elder people to doing this. So another thing is that we can try is how can we to like develop different kind of health promotion activities to the individual or to the people who only like to stay at home. So what might be the good solution, or what might be like maybe through the internet or through the TV communication, radio communication, or any type of inventive ways. And that is one of the things that we can try to bring out together.
Okay. Thank you for that, Dr. Athena. Sir Lyle, I believe you have a question for Dr. Athena. You may unmute yourself. Can you hear me? Hello, Sir Lyle? Okay, okay. I guess he can't. Okay, so I'm just going to read the next question in the Q&A box. So from Dr. Gresha, thank you for the very broad epistemological review about profession in general. From your experience, what strategies can you give to professional associations to influence policymakers? Influence policymakers to include OT and national healthcare programs.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. I think one of the example that I just share with you is what we did in Taiwan for the reablement. And when the government is trying to have some reform of the current system, they will call for some experts dedication to joining to the policy making process. And I think it's always a very good chance, opportunity or chance for us, like a national association, to grab the chance to take the leading position in the policy making process, especially when there is a chance. So this very experienced, like a very fruitful experience, has actually helped our profession to become more and more visible, and not only to the government, but also to other health professional group, or also to the general public or the government at different levels, to know better about who occupational therapist is and what can we do.
Okay. Anyone else who would like to ask a question? Last question, actually, before we.
Yeah, I think Sir Lyle can already ask.
Okay, okay. Sir Lyle, we can't hear you. You're not muted though, but and your signal is in green, so it's supposed to be okay. Can you try it once more? Okay, unfortunately, we cannot hear Sir Lyle. Maybe you would want to type your question, Sir Lyle. I can read it for you if you can hear me. Okay. Right. So while doing that, another another comment in the chat box. Great and wonderful sharing, fighting towards our profession. OT is unique and the best. Sir Lyle's question is here, okay? Okay, for Dr. Athena, can you expound more on added value OT?
That made me think of that the things that we're talking with when we're talking with our like mentees in the OT program in university, and we say that uh, no matter whether are you going to be an occupational therapist in the future, but you have learned a lot about like a human development or all kind of disease and evaluation and treatment method, and you will be a very good mother, and you will be like a very good father in the family. So I think occupational therapy educational training make us to know how to be a better human being. I think that's the added value for OT.
Well, thank you for that. That has opened my perspective in a different take. I didn't really think about it that much, but thank you very much, Dr. Athena. We actually appreciate your message this afternoon. And maybe to conclude that, I'll just call April to hand you our certificate of appreciation.
Okay. So we would like to present the
Hindi
certificate
ko
of
alam.
appreciation to our
Hindi ko,
speaker. Okay, let me
no,
proceed. The Philippine Academy of Occupational Therapists and Learning Enablers awards the
kasi kung,
Certificate of
kung, kung true
Appreciation
Dennis yan,
to Dr.
hindi
Athena
ko alam yan.
Yijung
Hindi narinig
Tsai
ni Dennis yan.
for sharing
I
her
most probably will
invaluable
remember kung
knowledge
sinabi niya yan. Lalo
as
na
keynote speaker
kung
during the 7th
withdrawal. Pero
Asia Pacific Occupational Therapy Congress
siguro
hosted
ang
by the
tanongin niyo si
Philippines
Dennis
via
kung sinabi
airmail
ba ni
this
si Dennis.
23rd
Kasi as
of
far as
November
I remember, wala
2021,
nang sinasabi sa akin. Pero
signed
pwede
by
kong
Roland
hanapin
Lyle Duque
sa
and
inbox ng
Arcel Rosario
APOTC. Pero
Gozon,
mamaya ko pa makahanap yan, pero
co-conveners,
I doubt it.
and
Kasi
Dr. Anthony Gresha, President of the Philippine Academy of Occupational Therapists.
Okay. Again,
Thank you
thank you
very
so
much.
much, Dr.
Thank you,
Athena.
Dr. Athena.
All right. Sorry for some technical
No,
errors.
finally I heard Lyle's voice.
In Filipino. Okay, so we're sorry for that. Okay, I think Sir Lyle didn't realize that he was not muted. It happens. People are usually so busy at the backstage. Again, we thank you, Dr. Athena, for joining us this afternoon. And thank you to everyone who has attended the afternoon plenary as well. Okay, before we proceed, let me just orient you with the next parallel sessions. So as we continue this afternoon, please take note of the rooms of the sessions that you would like to join. You may check the Congress ebook for the breakout rooms. And should there be any concerns, please approach any member of the technical committee or email your queries to apotc2020@gmail.com. And so, how have our delegates been finding the Congress so far? I hope you've been uploading your experiences too in our social media platforms. And don't forget to use the hashtag APOTC21 2021 Manila in your social media posts. So maybe Dr. Athena, you can do that too. And you can share your experience so that more of our delegates will be motivated to share their experiences too. Okay, so
Yeah.
as I go
And just
on,
thank Diana and April for
thank you so
hosting this
much.
Thank
session.
you also.
Thank you also. We appreciate you. So again, for the afternoon schedules, okay, we're already over time in the plenary. So at 2 to 3 p.m., you may proceed with the parallel sessions. At 3 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., there would be a short afternoon break. From 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m., you could proceed to the last parallel sessions for today. Okay, anything more, April, before we
Okay, so
close?
before we end this session, let me just remind you that the last day of Congress will start tomorrow at 8:45 a.m.
Okay, so I think that's it for April and I. Thank you for joining us in the day two of Congress, and we hope to see you all tomorrow. Okay, have a blessed afternoon and enjoy the rest of the sessions. See you all
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.